And back to our question, why do you think that we are in the situation we're in when it comes to the state of our municipalities?
Well, our belief is that we're in this situation because there is no political will and commitment to ensure that there are consequences in an event, especially with regards to irregular expenditure, because it's like it's business as usual, it's a norm. It's irregular expenditure, wasteful expenditure, but then at the end of the day, there is no consequences and nobody seems to be taking accountability and responsibility for that.
So what happens? I mean, Samwu has its ears, its feet, its people on the ground. What exactly happens, say, for example, when things are not just getting done, things that are supposed to happen? What happens to the flow of the money? What are you seeing happening in the day-to-day running of a municipality?
Well, we see that many of these municipalities are not following the prescribed legislations in terms of supply chain management processes. But the fact of the matter is that when we expose these things, our members get victimized. When they become whistleblowers, ultimately they find themselves unemployed. But we are still saying that if you look at the 6.8% of municipalities which obtained disclaim and adverse opinion, which necessarily constitute 22 billion rand, which for me, for us, it's something, it's an amount which is unaccounted for. And you only have, out of 257 municipalities plus 21 entities, you only have 7% of such, obtaining clean audits. But what about the rest? The Auditor-General expressed a view that the quality of financial statements presented leaves much to be desired. And therefore, our question is, what happens to capacity, particularly in the financial departments in those particular municipalities? Don't we have, chief financial officers and so on? But reality is that there is no consequences at all.
So what is it? The wrong people in the wrong jobs, or is it people who do know, but is it corruption? Is it people who just don't care?
I think it's a whole basket of everything. Nobody takes responsibility, nobody accounts, nobody knows that even if they do wrong things, there will be consequences. But the only victims in this situation is workers that seeks to always ensure that corruption is exposed and all those things. But those that are in position of authority, management, so on and forth, there are no consequences. But how do we explain 22 billion which is unaccounted for? How do we do that? Because that particular money can be used to address, other service delivery shortfalls. So that is our argument. We need government to put in measures in place to ensure that in an event of this irregular expenditure of almost 28 billion rand, which has spiked from the 16 billion for the previous financial year, but government must put in measures to ensure that in an event of such things, people are taken to task.
So in your experience, we have all of this information that comes from the Auditor-General. He describes what goes on in municipalities and the offenders, the names are put out there. We know which municipalities aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. What happens in the next couple of days? I mean, does everybody just hope it goes away? Who actually holds anyone to account after what we heard yesterday?
Look, if you check the auditor report, many of the issues in relation to governance are issues that have been, raised from the previous 5 years in the same audit outcomes. And clearly such issues have not been attended to for 5 years. But the ironical part of this situation is that out of the 22 billion, 28 billion which is recorded as irregular expenditure, you have one municipality accounting for 10 billion, which is a municipality which claims to be the champion of clean governance. You'd know it's Nelson Mandela which accounts for 10 billion of the 28 billion in terms of irregular expenditure. You have your OR Tambo, and then you have City of Tshwane. Now, our view is that if an institution is named after a particular figure, you need to ensure that you encompass the morals and ethics and everything of that particular person so that you preserve the legacy of that particular person.
Now, we understand that the Auditor-General now being given the powers to refer matters to the Hawks, SAPS and the Public Protector. Do you think that that is going to work, and are you willing to work with the AG when it comes to that as Samwu?
Well, would really want to appreciate that, and probably it would work. And in any event, we have always said we will fight corruption. We have exposed corruption. Unfortunately, our members are ending up being victims. But we will continue to do so. We would work with the office of the AG in terms of ensuring that where we need to assist, we want to. We have met the minister recently. The minister committed that where we have evidence of corruption, we need to submit. We hope that once we have submitted all those things, actions will be taken, because now we have been submitting. With the previous minister, we have been submitting clear evidence of corruption, but no action has been taken. And we hope that this time would mean business.
When you say that your members become victims when you try to expose it, just explain to us what exactly happens there. What do you mean?
Well, you would have an employee who's a member of Samwu who then says, look, there is this transaction, and this transaction is a clear reflection of corrupt activities. And once that is exposed, you'd have that member either suspended or expelled from work. For an example, there was one transaction in one municipality. Within 15 minutes, that happened within 15 minutes, where a municipality sold a land for 550,000 to a private developer. Within 15 minutes, the private developer sold the very same land back to municipality for 54 million. And now there was no even issues of deeds registration and all those things, but that transaction took place within 15 minutes. And when members spoke about those things, many of them were suspended and expelled. Now, this is the kind of things that are confronting us.
So do you think that you're going to the wrong people to report these things?
Well, either wrong or right, but people, you see, it seems that it is a norm for people to defend and protect corrupt activities. Nobody wants to speak, to take action against corrupt activity, because in any event, some of the people that are well known in the country are implicated in those things. I remember at some stage you were requested not to speak about something else because it implicated a very high-ranking political figure, and we said we're not going to keep quiet in any way. We cannot keep quiet. Those that are doing wrong things must take responsibility, and that is our stance.
Well, let's hope that the new powers given to the Auditor-General will actually bear some fruit. Thank you very much for your time, and that's Samwu General Secretary Simon Mathe with us.